All right, thank you very much. Once again, good morning. I am Bonnie Abramson. I am the Education Coordinator for the United Square Dancers of America, and we are pleased to have Mr. Mike Seastrom with us today, and he's going to talk to us about social connections. I've known Mike for years, and I know that he has practiced what he preaches for years and years and years. We both grew up in an age of uh, where your square dance family became, friends became your family and lifelong friendships, and they're very important to our activity. And we've lost some of those aspects of it. So Mike is a longtime square dance caller. He started as a youth. He are you currently or formerly from the board of CALLERLAB? I know you're a past chairman. You're a past milestone winner. One of the highest honors that CALLERLAB does provide. He's been very active, and I know you are still currently chairman of the Social Connections Committee with CALLERLAB. And so just lots of input on that. Once again, there's a couple of you that are not muted. I'm going to ask you to please mute yourself. And Mike, if you want to say anything else about yourself, again, for those of you that have joined us late, we have the chat open. If you have any questions during the presentation, please post them there, and we will make sure that Mike responds to you throughout the program. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Mike Seastrom.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you. I so appreciate that. Again, I want to apologize that Lisa's not here. We put her mother in the hospital yesterday, so she's at the hospital with her, but she helped me put this PowerPoint together, and she works right alongside me. She's done seminars before with me, with Jim Masco, and others, and she really is a good part of my square dance team. And I feel blessed to have her right there. The other thing is, as Bonnie said, I started doing this as a kid. For many, many years, square dancing, we kind of focused on the choreographic part of it, particularly callers. And in CALLERLAB, one of our longtime original members, Jim Mayo, pushed that we need to get back to retaining and keeping our dancers by stressing the social part of our activity. So that's kind of where our presentation is today. As chairman of the Social Connections Committee, I'm a big fan of any way that we as leaders, square dance leaders, can improve the social connectivity of our dancers and our other dance leaders. We're going to retain those people in our activity, and the activity itself will be far more satisfying. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't share my screen, and let's put up a presentation here. Let's see. Let's gonna have to go. So we're gonna
need to go back.
Yeah, I do need to go back, don't I? Well, let's see if we can. All right, let's see if we can get right back to the top here, and kind of
slideshow and then start from the beginning.
You got it. So
there you go.
So from the top, social connections and the key to growth, success, and fun. And I think most of us that survived the pandemic realized that when we lacked those social connections, there was a big empty part of us. And I think this is one of the things that I think made us value what square dancing is and what square dancing, not only to all of us, but the potential square dancing has for our society. There's why are social connections important? And I've kind of put these all on one slide here. First of all, it improves your physical and your mental, your emotional well-being. It increases our longevity. It really takes care of that need for belonging and being accepted. It also there is a certain amount of our endorphins, our chemistry in our body that is more in a well-being state. Serotonin levels, those kind of things are much more improved when we have that social aspect. Dancing also, we know that reduces 75% lower chance of dementia. And regular dancing reduces the risk of heart disease. So we've talked about the physical and the mental uh, uh, part of our dance and what it means to us. But I think moving farther along with the social part of it, see if I can. Um, right, I'm gonna just stop sharing this for a second so I can find out why I'm not getting. Ah, let's go back. Ah, escape.
What is it you're trying to do, Mike?
I'm just, I was not able to, for some reason, I was not able to advance
Ah,
my
hit
setup
your
here.
once you're in the presentation mode, hit your forward arrow or back arrow that takes you forward or back.
Yeah, and that's what I was doing, but I was not getting there. So
Okay.
I'm gonna go back. I want to get back to where I share my screen again. So let's start from the start. Am I sharing yet or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, let's get back to Zoom. Where are you, Zoom? Ha, okay. Let's share. All right. All right. Let's start again. All right. So we've covered that. So the other predictor of happiness and often health is the quality and the quantity of our social ties. So we're not only talking about square dancing, but we're talking about our family. We're talking about church groups, other involvements. The quantity and the quality of a person's social ties makes a big, big difference. And again, we as leaders can can help facilitate this with our groups, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. So. And the connections go just far beyond the individual level. It has a profound effect for our society and for our groups. So our clubs, our associations, when there's more interaction and more social, particularly positive social interaction with our social groups and our clubs and associations, these clubs are more successful. So, can we improve the physical and mental health in our communities? I think that square dancing literally can build that mental health in our communities for everyone that gets involved. And I'll go into that further as we go into our presentation. But I think it has a major impact. And our new dancers, we're now doing 2 classes a year. So when we start, and we're in the process of starting another class at the end of February, and our new dancers say, well, we just started a class, last September. What's the big deal about starting it in February? And we say, because we want to spread this dance to other people. We know we have a great social activity. We know that has so many benefits, and we'd love to see more people be involved in it. And we think we have the perfect recreational activity for that. So, keys to growth and success and fun in your club and associations. Let's go through a few points. And I talked with Bonnie before. She's going to monitor that chat thing for me a little bit. And if you have a question as we go along here, or have something you can add, or if I maybe explain something or talk about something and you've got a better way of doing it, I'm just pleased to have us have a discussion and have you add that information to it. All righty. So creating an atmosphere of enthusiasm and fun at all meetings and events. I think most of us know that there's people in our clubs and associations, and we in turn can be those people that can create that atmosphere of positivity, of fun. Um, a simple quip or a simple something that has people laughing, that has people, just in a lighthearted atmosphere. We can do that by uh, thanking people for coming, by simply when somebody comes through the door, you say, "Hey, Joe, it's so nice to see you and Sally today. It's super to have you guys here." And I think if we think of each event as a party and that fun is the primary goal, I think we can go a long way from to make each one of our events fun. I like that when clubs or associations have host couples or host dancers that greet people as they come in. And I think this is really important when you start your class. The first night of class, there's always this, signing up and some of this stuff. There might even be a little line of that. If you can have people right there to greet new dancers and these new folks and get their names and introduce yourself to them, it helps those host couples to introduce those folks to other people in the at the event. So I think having host couples not only to greet your folks, but actually have them at the door as people leave and bid them farewell. Thank them for coming. We have one club in our particular area where they hand out, someone's at the door and they hand out a little Ziploc baggie. It has a little paper in there that's printed up their next dance and their next event. And there's a little piece of chocolate in there that's wrapped. And so they hand those out when people go out the door. Something as simple as just saying, "Hey, thanks for coming. We really enjoyed having you here tonight," makes a huge difference. So having either your officers or your host couples do that. And that's the same with a board meeting or the same with an association meeting. If there's somebody that just thanks people for coming, for taking the time to do that, I think it goes a long, long way. And also, I think that this last point about decorating, if you can decorate up your hall a little bit, even for the most basic type of an event, it's fun, makes it fun. So recognize the special efforts of club members and guests. I think when somebody goes to a big or goes to a production of, say, decorating the hall, I love to recognize those folks and thank them for making it feel like there's a party in here because in essence, that's what it is. When you decorate something up, it's like there's a party going on. I think also recognizing visited dancers, special guests, when you have dancers that come from a long way, when you have area and state officers, recognizing those people, thanking them for being there. I think that makes a big difference too. Officers and members of the club, if they're more tuned into dancing with the caller and cuer partners, dancing with maybe singles that don't have a partner, making sure that they dance with new dancers and the guests. I think this goes a long, long way. So I think a club itself can, by treating their guests as members in their own home, and members can take on this responsibility as well. And I think when you have members that maybe used to be officers, they're more apt to do this very same thing of greeting people and making sure people dance and that kind of thing. And very often you'll see someone in the corner or just on the side of the room that kind of sits by themselves and it's officers and members and association people that can go over and say, "How you doing? It's nice to have you here. And how was your day today?" And those kind of things. To talk to people and include those people makes a big difference. So it's that social connection that we as leaders can emphasize more. I think it makes a big, big difference. And as I said before, treat every guest as if they were a guest in your home. I'm a big fan of food at events. We have it at our class. We have it at our club dances, and food is just it's a social facilitator. People often will grab a snack and talk with each other. Um, at our class every night we have dancers just bring goodies. And every one that brings a something for some kind of food or some kind of a dish or some kind of a brownies or cookies or whatever, they get a ticket. And after our announcements, we draw a ticket out, and the winner of that drawing gets a free pass to a dance. And it's a small motivator, but I think after a while, the motivator is that sometimes different people try to outdo themselves. We have one guy that always makes guacamole, and so someone else brings the chips, and so we talk about Dan's guacamole back there, and oh, by the way, Jim made some cookies, and uh, um, and Lisa brought some brownies, and just recognizing that and having fun with it, I think is great. Uh, when you plan open parties around dances or events, a lot of clubs, successful clubs, do that. They'll have dinner or before the dance and meet at a place. Sometimes they'll make an announcement. Well, afterwards, the crew is going to Shakey's Pizza, and uh, and so those kind of things, I think, make a huge difference. We don't do that as much anymore, but I think those occasional open parties are a big positivity factor for clubs. Club leaders support and respect the decisions of the majority. This is a tough one because oftentimes when we're talking about an issue that comes up with a club or association, and we have a vote, and the vote is close, oftentimes leaders will be dismayed to the point that they leave um, or resign entirely. We've had that happen. I've seen that happen in clubs. I've seen it happen in associations, and it's unfortunate, but we still have, when a majority decision, that democratic process that we go by. And I think it's really important for club leaders when they assign uh, different tasks to their members, to give it to them and let them go with it. Don't micromanage them, and thank them and recognize them for what they did. The other thing that I think that most of us don't do, and I'm throwing it out there because if club leaders can start finding their replacement halfway through their term, and then once they get an okay that, hey, yeah, I'd step up as vice president next time, and then just offer, hey, I'd be glad to mentor or give you any advice, or just let you go with it. Be able to mentor them at their request. But I think that's a really important thing because very often we end up with the same club leaders year after year after year. So start thinking about who replaces you here and who replaces there, and mentoring new dance leaders. I like new dancer promotion events that occur in several places of the year, all year long. Our club takes a class night about 3 times a year, and we, especially before we start a new class, and we just have a one-night party, and it's a party to invite anybody, your friends, your neighbors, just invite them to come to a dance event that they can join and just do that one night. Make sure that they understand, hey, it's just one night and we just have a great time. Come on and join us. You can use these for fundraising events. Very often, you can even make up tickets, and if it's benefiting, our club has benefited the Girl Scouts and the local food banks and stuff like that. So we'll have sometimes make these events promotional at the same time. But the bottom line is that when those people walk through the door, they have to sign a sign up sheet. And the reason why we have them sign a sign up sheet is because once they're signed in with their name and their email address on that list, we have a record of them being there, because if somebody falls or trips or stubs a toe, we can take care of them and they are covered, but they have to be on that sign up sheet. Every caller carries insurance. Most dancers and dance events have that insurance, but callers do. But a person that is safe falls and and either break something, or I've had a dancer that we were making a star, and another dancer put their hand up in the middle for a star and poked them right in the eye. Well, this dancer ended up going to the emergency room and having their eye taken care of. And my CALLERLAB insurance was able to cover that because they were signed in at the front. So it's really important that people sign in. And then with that sign up list, you have a list of friends of your club. And that list of friends of your club enables you to promote your next dance event, promote another solo dance event that your club is having. Some of these people won't join your club right away, but I think it's really important to give them the opportunity to come, to socially connect more with your group. And then you have the possibility of maybe sometime down the line when they're ready, bringing them into your class program. So, and I think it goes without saying that we treat our new dancers like royalty, because they really are. And it's a big deal to make a commitment to be involved with an activity like square dancing. And so I think that we need to treat them like royalty, and include the new dancers in as many club events as we can. Most clubs have sunshine officers. They may be a different name, but if somebody misses events, whether they're your new dancers, your class, your club members, if they miss events and dances, that person just contacts them. They just give them a call and say, "Hey, we're thinking about you, and hope you're okay." Very oftentimes we find that a dancer has surgery or has lost a loved one. Those sunshine officers can send cards, and that really goes a long way. I think by having club events that are publicized in your club newsletter, other dance publications, on social media, with flyers, postcards, business cards. I think it's great sometimes to have business cards made up with your class information so that your new dancers or your club members can hand out business cards rather than a flyer with the information for your new dancer program. So think about that. They're not that expensive, and it can be done fairly simply. And I think that's one of my most impressive things about square dancing is I think in general we create an atmosphere of acceptance, and that atmosphere of acceptance goes a long, long way. We have a very special young man in our club who is socially, say, different than other folks, but he is included in our club, and he is taken care of and make sure that he's got a dance partner. And a number of clubs I know have an individual like that's just very special and a part of their club, and that creating that atmosphere of acceptance goes a long, long way. And of course, we talked about the fun, the friendship, and the exercise at focusing each event. So, questions, comments, additional. Oh, I know one of the things before we go with questions and comments here is I want to make a mention that the USDA on their website has a fabulous resource of publication and educational materials that is just incredible. And I think it goes a long way to sharing that information with other clubs, other officers, other people in your association, because there's some terrific information there that is really accessible. You can download it, you can read it on the website, you can print it out. It's fabulous. And there's topics on so many of the areas of being involved with the club and association. Bonnie, I'm going to stop sharing this if that's okay.
It's okay. There are no questions, but if anybody wants to post one or comments about what you're doing in your club.
You got it. I think we're at a real point in square dancing, and as many of you know, callers, we have a resolution in CALLERLAB this next year that many of us hope to see us finally get a singular entry program to dancing, Most of us that were involved in dancing in the early 60s and even prior to that, before CALLERLAB, remember that our entry program consisted of the basic 50 calls. It was published by the Setsunoder American Square Dance Society. But as more calls were being written in the 60s, we just had a flood of new material that got and found its way into our dances to the point where different regions were dancing different calls. So CALLERLAB kind of standardized that and really had a basic program that was meant to be our entry program. But over the years, our square dance callers and leadership accept another level for, or maybe more calls as their entry program and more calls as their entry program. So across the world, we have a basic program, we have an SSD program as an entry level, we have a mainstream program as an entry level, we have a plus program as an entry level, and we also have basic 1 and basic 2. So some areas even divide the basic program up. But what we have found and what we remember from earlier years is that by having more than one class a year, we have a much better chance of building our activity. And we've seen this in our club since the pandemic. We put 39 new dancers in our club last year. And the year before that, we put in 34 new dancers. And because of having 2 classes a year, we our new dancers have become our primary recruiters. They bring their friends because most of them don't have everybody they know is not a square dancer like us. So it's they've become a great resource for us, and we're seeing younger empty nesters, people that are just barely, their kids are in high school and they're just looking for something to do now that the kids are never home, and some of them have kids in college. They're not grandparents yet, but they're having a blast and they're just wishing they had discovered this earlier, except it really is the ideal time for them in their life to join square dancing. So hopefully we'll get back to having a shorter program that'll allow us to have more than one class a year.
Okay, I do have some comments now. Samantha Booker, I think you're out of Tennessee. We've started organizing non-dancing events like board game nights at a member's home. We recently combined our chili and cornbread cook-off with a trivia and bingo night held at our club. Samantha, you want to elaborate on that at all, or is it pretty? I see you there. I don't. Okay, we'll go on to the next one. Ruth Melbourne said, thank you, Mike, for all you've done in this presentation. I am a new caller and I'm performing my first open dance in a few weeks. Your presentation was very helpful for me. Again, thank you for your recommendations.
Oh, super, super.
And then Jim Masco had a comment, Mike, where did the phrase, why walk when you can dance, come from? And he really likes that phrase.
That's a good question. I'm not real sure, but Lisa picked that up online someplace. It was, why walk when you can promenade? And I'm a big favorite. Why walk when you can dance? You're right. There's nothing like putting a little bit of spring in your step and more serotonin and a better feeling in your system with music and dance. And that's the other reason I think we have such a great activity.
Yeah. Samantha added to her comment, she was just trying to encourage social interaction outside of weekly dancing. So that's very important. And again, that's what my parents' club did. It's what I grew up with is, we did all kinds of crazy things while we were dancing. So
Yes,
that's what builds those lifelong friendships, even after they stop, other folks stop dancing.
yes, it really does. It does. Our club will go up to Bakersfield, which is about 100 miles away, stay overnight and go to the Crystal Palace together and even get on the floor and square dance at the Crystal Palace. And just because it's something to do as a group and you get the chance to sit down and talk to people outside of the dance environment. And that's
Yeah. I know there's a group, and some of them are from the Central Valley, some of them are from over on the coast. but I see where they go and they'll go camping for a week, and there's a melodrama playhouse there in the Pismo Beach, Santa Maria area, and they'll go and have a night out at um the Mystery Theater. Samantha also added to looking to set up field trips, much like what you just talked about. Um, and then one member is hosting a fireplace night. Um, oh, she said she has kids running around, so no video. And yes, she is from the Memphis area. I met Samantha at, I believe it was CALLERLAB. She is a good friend of Justin Russell. So
Nice.
um, that's where I became connected with her. And she's always posting about some of the activities that they do with their club and without. So,
Fantastic. I think that makes such a difference. We have a social chairman in our club that just a couple times a year um, organizes social events. And we had one time where on a particular day, everybody jumped on the train and took the train up to Santa Barbara. And everybody got up the train and we just walked around Santa Barbara and went to lunch. And different groups went different places, but as a group, we all were on the train singing and we just had a great time. So it's just something as simple as that.
well, and even more thought provoking with the national convention coming up in Shreveport. Back in the days when I was part of an exhibition dance team, we would travel by motorhome or a group of motorhomes, and we would just make tourist spots along the way. So we were going to the nationals back in Florida, back when they were in Orlando. And we stopped at Mondiki, who had their warehouse in Arizona, and we saw the London Bridge. And then we went over to um, the Grand Canyon and toured the, and so we just made the whole trip. Anytime we did those trips, we just made stops along the way. So we made an adventure out of them. And you create those additional memories. And you can even just do that on a weekend night, or if you're going to a Saturday night hoedown, make an afternoon and evening out of it with a group of people. And that gets more people going out to the dances for sure.
Right.
Any other comments or questions for Mike at this point?
I have a comment, Bonnie, that a couple clubs that I have seen because there's not a place open in the town where they could all go out afterwards, but they have their hall a little bit longer. They'll have a gathering after their dance. I mean, they literally just pull out tables, have people bring their own sodas or whatever they want to drink, and they'll order pizza and they'll have pizza brought in or something like that, where they'll deliver pizza, but they won't they can't go to a particular place. So use your own facility or have people bring in a dish or something that and have a little potluck thing afterwards where people could just sit down and eat and snack, because that interaction over the tables without the dance situation going on really just helps people just connect a little bit more and find out about each other. I think that makes such a big difference.
Yeah. Oh, I remember growing up, my parents' club had um, a dance the second Saturday of every even month. And so people would come, and it's kind of like you said, they stayed the hall. Instead of putting all the food out during the dance at 11 o'clock when the dance was over, back in the days when we all danced later, they had a huge potluck there, and they did just that. They stayed in the hall they were in, they brought the food out, had a huge potluck at that point.
Right.
And that's when everybody sat around and visited, and you got to know the people that had traveled from a distance to your club.
Absolutely. And you can even do that before the dance
Right.
if the hall is available before that time, have people bring stuff in and have dinner before the dance. So yeah, some
Yeah.
clubs do that too as well. I think that's another way to go. But having those dance events a couple of those dance events each year really brings newer people into your group, but we don't expect all of them to join our class program immediately. But if you have that list of friends of your club, and if you have events like a theater night or something, and you can invite those people, it gives those people another opportunity to know some more of the people in your group and say, these guys are great. They're fun to be with and friendly, and that in itself can bring them to join you guys. So I think it makes a big difference.
And something else to think about is when you're having a party night, invite the folks that aren't able to dance anymore. Maybe they're older or they've lost their spouses, they don't drive at night. Think about inviting them to come for that social aspect for them. You know, even if it means you go and pick them up and bring them in if they're not driving at night anymore, or things like that, because that means a lot to those folks.
It's great, Bonnie. I've seen more and more folks that either at a point in their life right now they can't dance, they had surgery recently or something, or they're at a point where they're not dancing anymore. They come to the dances, and I make a point of getting by and saying, "God, it's good to see you," and they'll usually apologize. Well, I'm not dancing now, or I can't dance anymore. It doesn't matter. These are all your friends. It is so nice to have you here and there's enough refreshments and they can snack and you don't have to charge them. But those are people that have been glue in your club and if many of them are former leaders and these are their friends. So we should be able to welcome those folks as well.
Okay, any other questions or comments before we have Mike go on? Okay, nothing new in the chat.
Right. Funny, some of these points that I brought up are things that I mean, you have to go out of your way to get them going. And even as a caller and a dance leader, you can walk around and thank people for being there and greet people as they come in. Um, Several callers I know that over the years have made a point of getting to the dance, a half an hour early or hour early and setting up their stuff and standing at the door and just greeting people as they come in, or being able to thank people or bid farewell when they leave. Those kind of things are a big that things that we as dance leaders can do, and so I can't overemphasize that enough. I think it makes a big difference. Oh, the other thing I might add too, one of the ways to increase your club or association's um, visibility in your community is to be involved with charitable events. Uh, we our club does food bank every year around Thanksgiving time. Around Christmas time, we are with another group, firemen's group that does toys for tots. We also are involved with a women's shelter and have products brought to one of our members' house, or there's even a QR code where you can go right to Amazon and order the products that this shelter needs and have them sent right to those folks' house. And we literally provide almost all of the toiletries and shampoos and stuff like that for this shelter with our once a year drive. And we've also worked with the Girl Scouts. We had a fundraiser dance. We had a father-daughter dance with the Girl Scouts that was raising money for that Girl Scout group. And at the same time, a lot of our members brought their granddaughters because that was the age of at the time. And now we could do it, and some of our club members could bring their daughters, or their mothers could bring their sons, and those kind of things. But those are fun events to do, and we ended up getting several father-daughter couples that joined our class, and so it's another way to increase your visibility. There's Elks groups, there's Kiwanis groups, there's all different kinds of service organizations. If you dance in a church, having a fundraiser for the church or something like that with a dance event is fun, and invite them, and so that the people that are involved with the facility you dance with, whether it's a church or a Knights of Columbus Hall or something like that, bringing those people in your group and increasing your visibility, I think makes a big difference. I think I got a chat or something from Adam here. Adam, you want to?
Yeah, I've got it. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, I'll repeat it. Yeah, one way I keep the party going is to find out what kind of music the particular group likes, and I keep the music going the entire event. As soon as I get set up, which is usually about half an hour early, the music's going, and sometimes it's just fun dances or songs that they just like to dance to on their own. But even between tips, there's music going. The party never stops.
Adam, I agree. I think even if there's a conversation going, you can turn that music down to the point where people can still talk across the table or
Yeah.
with people next to them. But having music going is definitely a way to increase the fun and just making it seem like more of a party event. So I agree. And it's easy to look around and sometimes just see the age of the folks that are out there and play things that folks tend to like. So I agree with you.
Well, I know sometimes some of the things that you callers do is you have, even if it's not a special party night, you have a theme night with your music. Maybe one night it's all Elvis music, or it's all this music or that music, and that just kind of adds to the fun, or the travel down memory lane, those kind of things. Anything you do that gets people interacting with each other.
Yes, yes. And the Social Connections Committee has put resources on the knowledge base, and the knowledge base is a whole web area where if you go to CALLERLAB, www.callerlab.org, and click on resources, you can hit the knowledge base. It'll take you right to the knowledge base. And almost any subject you want, type it into the search bar and it'll pop up. And there's information for dance leaders. There's information and articles for people that publish a newsletter. Same thing with the USDA publications and educational materials. There's good material in there for newsletters. So there's resources out there online for us to be able to run our events and then better educate our new dancers and new dancers as dance leaders to be able to be more effective and make their job a little bit easier at the same time. So,
Yeah, you mentioned newsletter, and one other thing to think about, if you're not already doing it, is do some kind of monthly newsletter to your club members, and especially if they're not attending. Let them know what's going on, announce birthdays, announce reminders about other things that are coming up or other dances in the area. Um, it just helps keep people connected. And if somebody hasn't been there for 2 or 3 weeks, then it's that reminder of like, oh yeah, we're still dancing, don't forget about us, come on out and join us, kind of thing. And so anything you do that's outreach, and I know they take time, but we don't have to use snail mail anymore. We've got lots of free resources um, to use to promote what we're doing and remind people and connect with them.
oh, you're absolutely right. That club newsletter is fabulous, and be able to mention like you say, birthdays, anniversaries, and sometimes it's nice to feature a club member or a couple in your club, and where they came from, where they met. You can get a little bit of information. Goes a long way. They can just write down several points about them and feed it into AI, and it'll write a really nice article about this couple, and boom, you got it in your newsletter. The other thing is it's nice with your new dancer program to have a couple up there on, if you can get a photograph and just a little write up about them and put it up on the board so people can come up and read about each other. And every week you can have a different couple or a different person be kind of featured, our featured new dancer of the week, or new dancer couple of the week. And I think that's a neat thing to recognize people and help people get to know each other better. So there's another way and doesn't take a lot of effort. So I think that makes a big difference.
Adam mentioned that newsletters, photos of past events help lure dancers back. That's very true.
Yeah. Yes, I really agree. Bonnie, you attend a lot of meetings, and I know Mylene and Jim and El Paul and Sally, you guys attend a lot of meetings. How do you make your meetings where they can be fun? Are there things that you do at your meetings that improve interaction, increase interaction? Because oftentimes we think of meetings as just being, another thing we have to do. Is there things that you guys do at your meetings to make them fun and increase interaction?
Gee, that sounds like a good idea.
I might. Yeah, I trying to add some humor into it. Some places along the way helps. I know even like with Sally and I have been working on planning the California State Convention, and one of the first things we did was find a theme that we could use to play off of. So we're doing follow the yellow brick road and theming the halls and theming, giving special names to the callers, doing anything that helps trigger that interest to get people to come and want to participate. And you can do that with your special party dances and stuff. Is do something that's going to be fun. If it's and I'm not a big costume person, but if it encourages costumes or special 50s dress, or anything that you can do to make it more of not a meeting, or something that will open people up to interact.
Yeah.
I know for my work, we have weekly staff meetings on Monday mornings. And one of the first things my boss does is go around and says, does anybody have anything special happen over the weekend, or special celebrations? So she tries to bring that personal aspect in before she opens it up for, the general business updates of the week kind of thing. So
there you go. There you go. I know a couple of callers associations have where someone has to bring in, is assigned to organize a skit, or someone is assigned to come up with some kind of a reading. And usually the skit is humorous, or the reading is humorous, but it just make it a point where it's in the agenda. And I've seen a couple callers associations do that. And it's kind of fun because sometimes as a caller, you need some skit material. And sometimes you come across something on the internet that's just humorous enough that you could literally just stand up there and read it. And I think those kind of things can make a meeting fun. So
Mylene had a comment, and then I've got another comment from the chat. So Mylene, you go ahead first.
Okay. So I know for the USDA Wednesday Board of Directors meeting, a lot of us stand outside, and besides the vice presidents that are signing their people in, we stand out there and we greet people as they're coming in. We usually have a little gift for them also at that time. And the same as at our USDA after parties on Friday nights, we always greet the people coming in the hall or staying in the hall. And at some point during the evening, we give out gifts to the people, to the dancers out on the floor, so that they have something to take home, besides my other little special gifts that we give our callers. But today I even received a phone call from the Indiana Square Dance Association's president, wanting to know what time our meeting is. He's working on getting his delegates now to make sure they attend our meeting, because he felt bad. He only had 2 last year, and he wants to make sure he has all of his votes in there, because they get good information from our meetings and all in there.
I have to compliment the USDA and the way they organize their after parties at the national convention, because literally there are members or USDA officers that greet dancers. I've seen it. They greet callers and coming in. There's someone to say thanks for being there. You guys are so good at that. And Mylene, the little gifts and stuff, and the little things for callers, that is just, every one of us just cherish that little bag that we get to walk out with. And it's simple, but it's neat, and it really is appreciated. And I think that's why most of the dancers, usually USDA after party is the biggest one, because people like going there. They just like the fact that that somebody is welcoming them and someone is thanking them for being there and little gifts and stuff, that goes a long, long way. And you guys do a great job of that.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that.
It's those little things that make so much of a difference.
Like giving a dentist crack candy for John is from the Boston area, and he said to bring angels there to their dances in New England, we do an early half hour of tips at a level +1 of level of the dance, i.e. mainstream dance, so early plus. Naturally, these early square dance tips replace the early rounds, but the early rounds were requiring arrivals to be hushed while the square dancing allowed the new arrivals to talk. And the rounds have their own round nights on Mondays and Sundays. So I think that's good, because I know when you're doing a new dancer class, you know, sometimes the old timers or the more experienced dancers don't want to be bothered with the new dancers, or they wait till the new dancers are done before they show up for the later session. So I like the idea of bringing them in early and giving them a chance to dance at their level before they help out as angels.
Yes. Yes, I just called for a club that has a plus program an hour before their regular dance. And there's rounds during that program, but the bottom line is the plus dancers come and then the rest of the dance is SSD. And the patience and the helping of those new dancers was fabulous by the dancers that came there first. They just stepped right up and was part of that different program afterwards. And some clubs have their class on their club night. And like you say, Bonnie, having them come in early to do a quick several tips or so, and then the class afterwards, or even the reverse works.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other comments or questions for Mike? Ideas that you've done at your clubs?
This is Sally. I just wanted to add on about Mike was talking about, well, how do you make meetings fun? You know, it's hard to make meetings fun, but food is always great. So even if it's not every meeting, I know, for example, in San Diego, our executive board has an executive board dinner every year around the Christmas holiday time, and we do a gift exchange and just all get together and socialize. Most of our meetings are now Zoom, so we don't get that social interaction that we used to when you all showed up in the same room and chatted. So, you know, USDA is infamous for food. You know, when we have our executive committee winter meeting, we have lunch together, we have dinner together, we maybe do some tourist activity in whatever we're in. And I think those are important for your, not just your dancers at your dances, but for your boards and groups too, to kind of make them feel like, you know, this is worthwhile work.
Yeah. And especially with something like USDA, where our members literally are from all across the country, and we only have meetings twice a year. So building those connections during the off time makes a huge difference. It really does.
Yes. Yes, I think that makes a big difference. Even at our board meetings for our club, they always have like ice cream and some kind of a snack afterwards, and people sit around and talk and you know, have an ice cream, a bowl of ice cream, or have a snack or something like that, a piece of fruit, whatever. But those things afterwards gives people a chance to just talk and stay around for as long as the facility's open, or as long as somebody's home is open, and out they go. So I think those things can make it fun. Yeah.
For you, those of you that may or may not be watching the chat, Mike mentioned earlier about the CALLERLAB knowledge base. That is just so full of incredible information. I did put the website address for that, and I've also posted the United Square Dancers of America website address if you don't have those. So check those out in the chat.
Thank you, Bonnie. There's also on the knowledge base are more ideas for fun nights for your clubs, things that you can do to increase the social interaction with people in your club. Something as simple as having a little name badge, a sticker badge that you can write on when dancers come through the front door. Everybody writes their favorite dessert and they put it on their shirt. And so you find people going around looking at, hey, what's your favorite dessert? And at some point in the evening, the caller can say, well, listen, I want all the people that love ice cream to square up over here and all the people that like cake over here. And, and you square them up just as a mixer, but those kind of ideas are on the knowledge base. We've collected those from all over the country and published them so that you can use that as a resource also.
Something else, I know that there's a lot more openings for singles, but there are clubs that still are predominantly couples clubs. And someone who has been a lifelong single dancer, if you have single dancers in your club, especially if they're coming in new, encourage them, help them out. Don't make them feel guilty because they're by themselves. Find ways to include them. And if that means, if you've got an overabundance of women, be willing to encourage them to dance the man's part or do whatever makes them feel included. Because, we're not out trying to steal your husbands or whatever. It's,
Bonnie, over half of our population is single, and if you're only having couples in your clubs, you're limiting half the population. I think the neat thing about what we're seeing as a caller is I'm seeing a lot of dancers that can dance the left side to the right side, and it fills our squares, and it makes such a difference when say a couple the band partner wants to sit out a tip or vice versa. People can fill in and it makes such a difference. We use a vest. It's a green vest that looks like some of the construction workers have, but it's really light. You can get them on Amazon, and we just throw a vest on the left side dancer if it's a gal dance in that part, because it's really easy to see even for our new dancers. And even at our new dancer program, a lot of our women in our club that maybe are not single, they want to learn that other part, and so they can dance it. And oftentimes we'll have events, we have an all girls square and an all guys square, and they square up next to each other to see who can keep dancing the longest, and those kind of things. So I think if you can have vests, it's just easier to see. I've seen badges that say boy and girl, although it's not very customary for guys to look at a girl's badge, and so it's you can have a sash. I've seen sashes, but the vests work really easy because they're blaring and right away. So I'm encourage that in your new dancer program, and it really gets everybody dancing with everybody. We're a team of 8. It doesn't matter what the makeup is, and the cooperative nature of our dance connects us socially just by the nature of our dance. And we can add that additional effort by these things we've been talking about today. It makes a big difference.
And taking that stigma away, but also the fact that learning both sides makes you a far better dancer all the way around. And I've seen, people that, like you say, they go through the class and they get pretty comfortable and then they decide to go back and learn the other side. And it really does open up your mind, especially as you're getting into the higher levels. And it's always definition, but it's more definition when you get into the higher levels and they start mixing you up and intentionally putting you on the wrong side. So
yeah, having people be able to dance both sides is a wonderful asset in our activity.
Yeah. All right. Any more comments, questions, ideas you want to share? Yes, go ahead, Ruth. You're still muted, Ruth.
Okay, I was just about to type in the chat that our area has callers who will call dancing by definition. So we have lots of clubs that involve the women dance in the male's position, and sometimes even the males dance in the women's position. But again, our convention coming up in April for our area, it's going to feature callers who will do a variety of dancing, and dancing by definition is one of them. And take no prisoners is another, which dancing by definition is a key thing that you must know, because it can really break down the square if you don't know it very well. But there's a wide variety of that kind of dancing here in our area in New England.
I remember in Samantha from Memphis just brought up, she's my teenage daughter and I have danced both parts for a while. This past year or so, my twin 12-year-old boys have learned the opposite part. It definitely helps to fill those squares and has made us strong dancers. And
I've actually have been dancing for 50 years, since 1975. And even my first or second year as an angel, because we had not enough males in order to fill squares for all the females that attended. So I am one who joined in to learn both sides. And it's actually something I enjoy doing. But, you know, as you all say, it very much helps, give you the experience of both parts, makes you a better dancer in that area too. And it gets people up dancing who normally would sit down or not even go because they don't have a partner. So it's a very beneficial thing, and has been throughout my 50 years of dancing. So
yeah. Well, and I remember, starting out dancing as a kid, younger people learn quicker than most adults. And I remember, we learned and caught up with the club, and there was, several of us teenage dancers, and we started learning the other part just to show off. It's like, okay, tell us we can't do something. We're going to show you we can. And that was a lot of it for us is, we wanted to take that dancing adventure further down the line. And
exactly.
So we started switching up earlier. And, when we had youth clubs, I mean, it's a good way to keep the kids motivated, because if they can learn something new, it just not only makes them better dancers, but it does give them that chance to not
keeps them involved.
Keeps them involved and not get so bored. Dennis made the comment, I thought DVD was dancing by discussion.
Nope.
And often
dancing
people
by
will try to
definition.
discuss how it's supposed to go. So, but yeah, no.
Well, thank you, Bonnie.
You got it. I think more and more callers are recognizing dancers that can dance both sides. I mean, they really do fill our squares and really allow some people to sit out that want to sit out one. And I think it's been a fabulous part of our activity for a long time, and I see it more and more, and it's really pleasing. And I think as callers, we can recognize those dancers that can dance both sides, and that goes a long way too.
And that's another good point. As callers, I know, Mike, there's been a couple of times where you've called me out to fill a square, particularly in an area where they were far more conservative. Mm-hmm. And, they weren't quite as ready to have, women dance the man's part. And I remember a festival in particular up in Reading where they couldn't fill a square, and Mike, you were calling, and you had me come. He said, Bonnie, I know you can dance the man's part. You come up here and do it. And that opened up the thought process, because somebody as respected as Mike, making it okay for women to dance the man's part really makes a difference. And I've been thrilled to see how the attitude has changed over the years, but I also know that there are still areas that are very conservative, and they don't want to recognize the switch position. So as callers, you can make a difference in opening up eyes and opening up attitudes about that.
Absolutely. Dance leaders and callers that have the microphone can at a dance just thank all of those dancers out there that can dance both sides. How about we give them a nice round of applause? These guys fill our squares, and I think the more we do that, the more we're going to make more of the groups out there understand that this is a part of our activity. It's a fun part of our activity. And we can really enjoy the fact that it enables some people to, if they need to sit out one, but their partner wants to dance, they've got the ability to do that. So
Adam made a very good point. When I see people hesitant to flip roles, I point out that it's a dance position, not a life choice. And that's very true.
yeah.
Because that's where some of that attitude goes into.
Yeah, we are a team of 8, and that's the key. And that's the best part of our dances. We dance in cooperation with one another. So the cooperative nature of our dance really enhances that. Just have fun. I think I love teaching square dancing to kids, particularly elementary school kids, because it teaches them that friendly, fun interaction in a team-like atmosphere with dance with kids of opposite sex, and just enjoy each other's company. And it's a really like I say, it's a sport. It's a team sport.
Well, Adam added that the Rambling Rogues have so many women dancing boy that it's the men who are sitting out.
You know, I want to just bring up one thing about the Ramblin' Rogues, because I was thinking about this earlier. I filled in for the caller at one of the events that they have every year. And I'd never heard of this event, but basically their class, at the end of their class, organizes a luncheon, a thank you luncheon for the Angels. And literally the class organizes it. They have a way of the club raises funds through a poem that somebody reads each night. And anyway, but they raise funds for this thing so that it's paid for. But they bring the food in, and it's all run by class members. And I called it only a few tips, because it's mostly sitting around tables and having lunch. And they had a photo thing there where there was a big scene in the background, and they were taking people's pictures in front of this outdoor looking thing that looked really neat for a photograph. But it was all run by their class. And it really, I think, enabled the club to see, hey, here's our potential leaders of tomorrow. Here's our people that could really organize it. And the club people left, and the class people were picking up the tables and the stuff like that. I thought, what a great way to thank the Angels, but at the same time, get your class members. And the class members really seem to enjoy working together and that spirit of putting on an event. And it was kind of neat. So hats off to the Rogues for a neat event that I had never heard of before.
Yeah. And the Rogues are, I mean, boy, you see them out every weekend. They'll be at 2 or 3 dances. They really push their members to go out and visit other clubs and dance all over the place. And so
well, they always take photographs and put it on Facebook. And
yep.
Yeah, you got it.
We're out visiting. Dennis posted a note. Thank you for all your input, and thank you, Mike, for all you do and keep doing to make our activity better. And I hope you heal fast and get rid of that ring around your neck soon. But when the doctor tells you, see you at CALLERLAB. And so I think.
Thank you, Dennis.
And any other comments, questions, things you want to share with us? All right. Mike, do you have anything else you want to add?
Just want to thank everybody for taking the time and coming out and being on the Zoom session, and for the input. There's a lot of great ideas out there, and the more we share them, the better we're going to be able to make this, and the more people we're going to be able to share this great activity with.
All right. Well, Mike, I want to thank you as always. You do a fabulous job. I hope Lisa's mom is okay. Tell her we missed her today. I want to remind everybody that our next webinar is Saturday, March 8th. It's going to be our general chairman of the 74th National Square Dance Convention, Ted and Tanya Hoffmeister. are going to be talking about all the fun and wonderful things you need to do or you can do in Shreveport, Louisiana. It's going to be a fabulous convention. There's been a lot of hard work put into it. It's a fun place. I can tell you that the convention center is about as compact a convention center as I've seen as far as where everything is. So that will make it easier for everybody. The announcement that went out said that our April webinar would be on the 19th. We've realized that is Easter weekend. So we've opted and we're going to move that up to April 5th, which is the first Saturday of April. So I'll get that updated so that everybody can keep their plans intact. Sally Bennett Schmidt is going to talk to us about all of the wonderful education programs and pamphlets and resources that USDA offers to our dance committee. Mike, you've mentioned those and we really appreciate that. Let's see, a couple more comments here. Lucy said thank you. Ruth commented, thank you, Bonnie, for putting the webinar and hosting Mike Seastrom. This webinar was very helpful and great to meet you all. Get better soon, Mike, and prayers for Lisa's mother. And again, another one. Thank you, Mike. Glad to see you soon. CALLERLAB, if you have the opportunity to go, it doesn't matter if you're a caller, cuer, or a dance leader. It's a fabulous event to go to. This is their 50th. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to go. It is on the East Coast. Mike, can you give them the dates and the location for that?
Yes, April 13th, I believe. It's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before Easter. So it actually starts on a Sunday night and goes Sunday afternoon through Wednesday morning. And it's in Greenfield, South Carolina, and a great facility there. So boy, the dancer and dance leader input is always welcome there. And so if you got a chance to go check the CALLERLAB website, you can get information on it, on the exact hotel and registration and such.
It's very worthwhile. I've been lucky enough to go to the last 2 years. They do rotate it around the country. And as a dance leader who never, ever gave any thought to being a caller, it's a very valuable opportunity to have. I do want to mention one more webinar that we've got on our schedule, Saturday, May 17th. I think this is very important. It's going to be prepared, tips to make your club and association prepared for a medical emergency. We have a woman who, they're actually about an hour from me out here in California. They had a dancer fall and have an accident, and she took through all of the steps. They had what they called their red book, which is their emergency book. Everybody in the club, from the caller down to the dancers in the group, all took a special role. It's about being prepared, things you can do, having access to resources like emergency services, even those that are unique to your area. So I think it'll be a very worthwhile. We don't ever want to think about having an accident at an event. Might get an X-brace, even though it wasn't at a square dance event. But it's just knowing what to do and who to call and how to react. And so I think that's going to be a very good program. That's on May 17th. So those are our next 3 webinars coming up. We hope you'll join us. We hope you'll spread the word about them. And again, this is being recorded, so you can hear this or share it with your friends sometime next week. Anything else that anybody wants to add? All right. I want to thank you all for your time. Mike, again, fabulous as always.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you all for participating and joining us, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, very good. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.